right, everybody. We got another very special guest for y'all. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Gary Hodges. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, your first time on the show, and we're going to be talking about dinosaurs versus Marsbots in a little bit, because I know Chris and I are both have an interest in UFOs and some conspiracy theory stuff, so can't wait to talk about that a little more. But we have to do the annoying thing of putting you through the gauntlet of how you got into comics and what made you want to write this book about dinosaurs and Marsbots. So let's get started there. How did that all start off for you?
Sure. So I was thinking about this from watching your other interviews. I was like, how did I get into comics? I believe it was. So I'm very Gen X. So comics were more of a staple, to our childhoods. I actually think the entry was through the old G.I. Joe cartoon. I loved the G.I. Joe cartoon. And then I was like, what? They have a comic? And I sought it out. And it kind of ruined the cartoon because it was so much better. Like, so much more interesting and so much more, like, scary and exciting. And people were getting shot. And, Snake Eyes was fascinating. Like, it just was like, whoa. So I think G.I. Joe, I know G.I. Joe was my first love as a comic. I absolutely was obsessed with it. And then that allowed me into, like, what is this Secret Wars thing? What is this X-Men thing? And then, of course, you're aware of Spider-Man and the Hulk and all that, but that was my way in. Mm-hmm. When Nintendo landed in about 7th grade, that kind of broke my comic affair just for a few years. Like, I was like, oh, now video games are my thing.
Yep.
But it was, I think, late in high school, I sort of found my way back to comics through a lot of the big graphic novels, like Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen and V for Vendetta, like all that kind of stuff was like, and it was great because it felt like the whole thing had matured with me, because I wasn't going to go back and read a G.I. Joe comic when I was 20 or whatever, but like I would absolutely sit and read Dark Knight Returns or Watchmen or something.
Right.
So.
Yeah. The more grown up stuff. You're like, this is a lot more serious.
It's funny. It's a similar story to me, except I'm a generation. Me and Mike are a generation below you.
Whatever.
We're both millennials.
Yeah, we're both millennials.
Yeah.
Just on the.
So it was Batman Returns, and then I started playing Pokemon, and I'm like, video games and Pokemon was all I did, and Magic the Gathering, and still nerdy ass shit, but And then it was like Walking Dead and Dark Knight Returns and all that brought me back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering. I had my few years with Magic the Gathering as well. Yeah.
And there's like crossover, like all those realms of like cartoons, Magic the Gathering, video games, they all like have some ties to comic books. At least nowadays they do, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it all comes back. So, you had this, did you always have this like interest in UFOs or aliens and dinosaurs, or like how did that come about?
For sure. Well, dinosaurs for sure. I think as a kid, like a lot of little boys, I thought, I wanted to be a paleontologist or something, and I could tell you any dinosaur and anything about them, and all that stuff. So I had that, and then absolutely the UFO alien stuff. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, like, back when conspiracies were fun. It was all about Area 51 and Bigfoot and like the Bermuda Triangle. So it was like I loved all that stuff. Didn't even necessarily believe any of it, but it was like this is just so much fun. Like it's just so much fun to read this stuff.
I had a very like constant fear as a young lad that I would someday end up in instance where I'd be lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Like, there was several years where I was like, I can't go there. I just thought planes were flying over it all the time.
They were losing thousands of planes a day.
I was like,
right.
I was having a conversation with my girlfriend last night because she was over with her kids, and I made dinner for them and everything, and they were watching my TV, and they were like, they scream out in the next room, like, "Can we watch South Park?" And this will get around to UFOs, I promise you. And I'm laughing. I'm look at her. I'm like, I'm fine with it. And she goes, no, you're not watching. They're 11 and 14.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and she goes, no. And then we start talking. I was like, I was her age. Her daughter's the 11-year-old when my dad, who had no clue because it's just coming out, was like, yeah, let's watch this new show, South Park. And that first episode came out.
This cartoon.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been my intro into Aliens, was because if anyone doesn't know, that's the episode where Cartman gets probed.
Yeah, it's the probe episode, the first episode.
That was your first episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I was around her age when that came out. I think that's my intro into the whole Aliens thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey man, they got you into it somehow, right? That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so at some point your interest, you're like, okay, maybe I can write a story about this. Have you had you written anything before? Or?
I had played with writing for a long time. I had drawn since I was a little kid. I started doing a little bit of creative writing in junior high, just short stories. And I had an idea for a novel that never went anywhere, and I screenplays that never went anywhere. I just always sort of casually wrote. I didn't take it super seriously though. But what happened was, this was about, 12 years ago now. A friend of mine was doing a local convention, a DinoCon, a dinosaur-themed convention.
Oh, wow.
And she knew I drew. She knew I was working as a graphic designer, and I'm an illustrator by trade. And she also knew I was a dork. And so she's like, hey, we're going to have a merch section. Do you want to do prints or anything? And I said, I was absolutely not interested because it just sounded like a lot of work. So I was like, I'm going to pitch something that she'll absolutely say no to because it's not what she's looking for. And then I get credit for saying yeah, I would do this. But then I don't actually have to do it. So I said, yeah, I'll do it if I can do dinosaurs fighting robots, And she's like, yeah, do that. And so I was like, shit. So I was like, all right. So I did 6 prints. Each one was a different dinosaur fighting some weird alien war machine or fighting a gray. It was just, and that's all I did. And coupled with that, I did 6 black and white versions. And I printed them out as 8.5 by 11s. And if you bought all 6, I would throw in a box of crayons. And so the whole idea, it was this goofy premise where it's kind of Mars Attacks, kind of very camp. It's Tyrannosaur eating a robot, and hey, it's a coloring book, and it's just silly. And actually, it did well, and so I came back the following year, and then I went to the Phoenix Fan Fusion. Then it was Phoenix Comic Con. Now it's Phoenix Fan Fusion. The year after that, it just kept building, and each show, people would come by and they would buy stuff, or they'd look at it and they'd say this is really cool. Are you going to do a comic or anything? And early on, I was just like, no, because again, it sounds like a ton of work. Comics are a lot of work. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. There's no story here. I don't. It's just it's just fun and games. It's just King Kong punching Godzilla. This is all this is. But after a while, I started thinking if I did do a comic, what would that be? And and then once that starts, it's over. You're screwed. Because then you're oh, now I have an idea.
Right.
And so I think it was 2018, 2018 is when the first book came out. 2017 was probably when I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna try this. We'll see how this goes. And I did the first one, and I got addicted. It's just this great process. It's really creatively satisfying.
And when you're first starting out, how did you fund the print run? Did you just do it yourself? Did you jump on Kickstarter?
No, I haven't done a Kickstarter yet. I intend to. Once this is going to be a 6-book series. The 4th one just came out. Once they're all done, I like the idea of doing a Kickstarter to combine them all into a perfect bound trade of some kind. But I get them out about every other year because they're fat books and there's a lot of work that goes into them, and I have a day job and everything, so it's about every other year. It's basically a year of writing, a year of drawing, a year of writing, a year of drawing, and then so they come out every other year.
And what issue are you on now?
I'm on the 4th
Okay.
of 6.
So can you give us an overview of what is the story that started off with, two entities just duking it out. Now you have like a 6-issue series here. How did that...
series.
Yeah.
So the framing of the comic series is first-hand eyewitness accounts of a top secret war you weren't supposed to know about. So it's the idea is each one is a standalone story. That's why they're so fat. They're usually like the shortest one's about 40 pages. Most of them are closer to 60. Wow. Each one is a different person's vantage into this highly classified attempted alien invasion that somehow involves dinosaurs that took place between the mid-70s and the early 2000s. So the first one focuses on a man in black. The second one focuses on an innocent bystander, just a woman who's out taking pictures in the desert and sees something she wasn't supposed to see. The third one's a scientist in a top secret research facility, and my latest one is about a soldier. He's sort of like a SEAL Team 6 kind of guy him and a bunch of other guys have been ordered to go out and do secret stuff in the woods. As you're reading it, you're getting a self-contained, complete story. It kind of touches on the other ones. I think you get more out of it if you read all of them. But so you'll see hints of like, oh, they're talking about this guy, or oh, they're referring to this thing that happened back in this other issue. Mm-hmm. But you can, when people come up to me at a convention or whatever, and they say, well, which one do I have to read first? It's like, what does your heart tell you? I don't know. Like, it's like, which of these stories, sounds fun to you? And you can just pick that one up. And hopefully you'll like it enough where you're like, all right, I want to try another one, and you'll start to see how they all kind of puzzle together.
Mm-hmm. And on your, you have an Etsy shop that through your Instagram, but you do this timeline for everybody. So each book takes place within a certain part of the timeline that puts it all together, right?
Yes.
So
the first one, the one about the Man in Black, that's the earliest in the chronology. It's really the start of the series. That's set in 1975. The latest one I have right now is the newest one I have, coincidentally, The Soldier. That's set in 2001. So each title is usually D versus M, a year, like the year it takes place, and then the subtitle of like the POV character. So this latest one is D versus M 2001, The Soldier.
Okay, yeah.
So when you were setting this all up, like how important was it for you to keep them standalone?
That's a good question. I did really like the idea of, I guess it was central to the premise, because I find there's something kind of powerful about, and this goes back to the fascination with UFO stories and stuff. There's something powerful about the first-hand account, like the eyewitness account. Like, this happened to me, and they tell you this story. And I feel like that's a story. I don't want to break that up over several issues. Like that, this person's experience is like the story. So I really liked the idea that if you pick up an issue, you're not going to be left hanging. There's not going to be... You're going to be left hanging in terms of the larger mythology. Mm-hmm. Like, when you read the first one, you're like, what are the aliens up to? You read the second one, it's like, where did dinosaurs come from? You read the third one, like, there's always, like, a new thing where it's like, oh, well, what's that about? And what does that mean? But in terms of, like, the actual character story that's being told, like, that person has a complete arc. And you feel like, all right, I got that person's, this was the worst day in this person's life, and I just read about it. Yeah, that was fun.
But I think that's something central to what comics were, at least in its birth, was like, you should be able to pick up any issue. So I should be able to pick up issue 52 of Spider-Man and then want to go back.
Totally.
Not feel like I have to start at number 1. So
totally.
I think it's interesting.
That's how G.I. Joe was. I didn't discover G.I. Joe at number 1. I think I picked it up at, it was like 19 or something like that. And they all worked. Like, even though a lot of them, and you'd see all the notes, it would be like, they'd be like, oh, go back
in
to
issue 7.
Yeah, or whatever, and you realize there were things that you weren't quite getting because you hadn't read everything else. Mm-hmm. But it really didn't hurt anything. Like, basically everything you need to know is in this issue you happen to find. And I think they knew back in the day, especially, those spinner racks, who knows how often they were being restuffed, and who knows if they're ordering every book every month. They can't count on the fact that you read the last issue. So they have to kind of, be thoughtful about the reader and tell a story that they're going to be able to appreciate no matter what. And I just always felt like that's a good way to go in this medium. Like, it's...
And it's not like today where you couldn't even count on somebody being able to find the last issue. Like,
No.
there was no there was no direct, or there was very small direct market if there was any at all. And to the idea of like collectors before our time, all of us here, the idea of a collector didn't really exist. Like, I always laugh at the story of my father being like, all these comics that I see are worth like thousands of dollars. Like, we read them, we crumpled them up, put them in our back pocket, and we threw them away.
Rolled them
like
up in the back pocket. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and I remember I went to some of the first little comic conventions here in town that I remember just noticing. Maybe in the 90s or something. And to me, like, the collector scene was totally different. Like, these people were a rare breed. And they all looked like ZZ Top. They had these long beards and they like these dusty old long boxes. And it just seemed like, whoa, that's intense, And now it's like when people say like, oh yeah, I have like an almost complete run of whatever. It's like, it doesn't strike you as so unusual.
Right.
But no, then you're absolutely right. You if you missed out on it 1 month, it was probably gone. For all intents and purposes, it was gone. So I also just find it a lot more satisfying to write. The idea of like, I have a story in my head and I'm going to tell it over the next few months or years. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I would like to just say like, here's a story I came up with. There you go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, it's also with your books, you're doing, you said one of them was like 40 pages.
Yeah.
Do you try to set yourself to a page count, or is it really, hey, this issue needs to be 52, this issue needs to be 22? How do you handle that?
That's what it is. It's like I write a script, and once I'm in love with the script, it's like, all right, how many pages does this have to be? It sounds very woo, but like, I let the script tell me how long this book is. And, if I think the script is right, then I guess that's what it's going to be. The only there is an upper limit for saddle stitching. If you, and even mine they push the line where you'll notice like my books, and this is why I immediately bag and board them to try and get them flat. They kind of like close like this because they're so thick. I think Comics Wellspring, which is where I get my printing done, I think it's something like 64 interior pages is the limit for saddle stitch. So I have that in my head of like, unless I want to switch over to perfect, like that's kind of my upper limit. But no, I don't worry about it. And I know just the way I write and the kind of stories I tell, like, it's not going to be a standard, it's not going to be like a 20-page comic. Like, it'll be on the longer side. Mm-hmm. And because I charge a little more, like, I try to get nice printing and a nice cover, and I spend more time with it. Charging a little bit more of a premium product, it's like, I respect the people who are going to support an indie. Like, I'm not a name. If you're going to give me 10 or $15 for a book, I'm going to give you a lot of book. Like, you're going to, I want you to feel like that's a worthy trade. So
that's something I've kind of pushed over the past year, 2 years maybe. You can correct me, Mike, how long it's been, but with the pricing going up, it's like 22 pages doesn't cut it anymore for $15. I'm sorry to tell indie creators that, but it just doesn't cut it anymore.
It's just, when you get the book, you're just like, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. No, it's tough. And obviously it's much more expensive for an indie to print something than
for sure
a big publisher. So I get it. I get why they're putting their 22 page books at $10 or $15. But that's a big ask. Yeah. I mean, and I, having worked cons, you're very sensitive to the fact these people walk in with like, they got $80 in their pocket, maybe. and they have lots of options, you know, and like, you know, I think you want to respect their wallet a little bit. It's like, if I'm going to ask you again, if I'm going to ask you for 10 or 15 bucks for an indie book with this weird premise, you know, like, it's like, I'm going to make you feel like you got your money's worth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And can I ask, with your Etsy shop too, here, you have all the issues available and everything.
Yes.
Why no digital options?
That is me being a stubborn ass. You know, I'm
Thanks for the honesty. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. I just don't love, I don't love digital. I don't love the digital experience. No shade on anybody who does. Believe me. Like, I wish I could switch because I've got all these long boxes over here and the storage issue is becoming a real headache. But I guess I'm just sort of a codger. Like, maybe it's the Gen X thing. Like, I like the experience of like sitting down and turning pages and like this actual physical experience of having and holding a comic. And I spend a lot of time on the page planning and figuring out like, where are my page turns and what are you going to see? When are you going to see it? What does the 2-page spread look like? Like, I think about the medium, you know, like what is the experience, the physical experience of reading this book? I can tell you all my friends are like, you gotta get a digital version. What the hell are you doing? But, and that's another, like, yeah, someday I probably will. I feel like one of the joys and perks of being indie is like, I'm going to do what I want, you know, like that. And that's why I think any indie you talk to, that's one of the foundational principles of why they're doing what they're doing. It's like, I didn't want to draw Batman. Like, I didn't want to do, a blank, whatever the thing is. I didn't want to do what the popular, I had my own idea and I wanted to do it. And like, another example of that is I love black and white. I like adore black and white when it comes to comic art. And I'm one of those people where sometimes I'll see the ink version of a page before it was colored and I'll be like, I kind of like that better. Like, I think that, like, I feel like the color sort of took away from it. So when I sat down to do it, I was like, okay, I'm going to do my D versus M comic. What's it going to look like? What's it going to be? I was like, I want to do black and white. I love black and white. I want to do an homage to black and white. And so that's another example of, like, I know there's people out there, it's like, oh, you know, I like color. It's like, cool. You know, but like, you know, again, I'm indie. Well, you like, I get to, like, I'm the guy. Like, I'm the one-stop shop here. It's like, I'm deciding it's going to be black and white. For the time being, I'm deciding it's going to be physical. That one will probably change. It'll never be color. But
I mean, I read a lot. I think most of my books are digital now, unless I grab like a trade here and there. But there is something about that double-page spread. Like, you know, I've case in point, I've read like the Absolute books lately, and I want to get some friends into that. But I can't show them my tablet to display the art. I have to pick up a trade in the store, open to like a full page spread, because there's no way they really do it well. Like, you know, the digital version, they zoom out or they're like zoom in, and it's like it just doesn't. Until they make like a digital comic book that's too, like, it opens up like a tablet that opens up like a comic. I don't think it'll ever truly be represented. But so I do understand that. But yeah, from like a volume of how much we read, it is preferred now.
I'm very sensitive to that, and that's why that one I'm willing to wiggle on. And like you got, you know, it's like, especially if I'm like, oh, I've got review copies or here,
for sure,
you know, like, it's like, sure, I have PDF versions, but in terms of like cons and stuff, or like my online shop, it's like, it's a print product. You know?
Two things always come to mind when I hear indie creators talk. Like, there's a few that just like are like you, like that's the print medium and everything, and I get it, I do. Two things come to mind, and one's that quote from Joe Dirt: "It's all about the consumer. It's not what you like; it's the consumer." But but also for me, it's I mean, you seem to just enjoy making the book, and I don't. If it becomes something big, it's, you know, that's cool, but you're not trying to make a business. So the people that are trying to make a business, I'm always just like, it's free money, guys.
Totally. And that's also, the luxury position I'm in, where this is a passion thing for me. I find it to me, it's a creative endeavor that I really find fulfilling and rewarding, and I want to share this with people, but it's like, this is the thing that I'm doing. I have a day job, and I don't put the pressure on my artistic ambitions to pay my rent.
Yeah.
So, and not everyone's in that boat. And again, totally get it. Like some people are out there, it's like, no, I want to quit my job to do this. If I had that mentality, I 100% would be selling digital copies. And I'd be probably doing a lot of other things. I'd be doing fan art of Catwoman, like whatever, but like I'm in a, the privileged position of like, like I can be true to myself and not do that.
Yeah.
But,
no, and it was making me think as I was going through Etsy too, because you already have the perfect physical way to do a digital at a con, because you have the dossier pack where you get all 3 books, get some stickers, and it comes in that like classified package and everything. Yeah. And all I'm thinking is like making that classified folder and putting like a thumb drive in there, and that's how you could like sell people on the digital. And
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
because thumb drives are cheap too.
Yeah,
right.
And then it's a physical way to do a digital comic at a.
I think
because I've seen other ways where they get like
I might
custom.
have to feel that. I kind of like, because if I can do it within the vibe, it's sort of like, okay, that's a fun idea. I do like that idea a lot.
I like the idea. I think it's Mike and I have become obsessed with Dungeon Crawler Carl, and so I was looking up. They do Kickstarters for special edition hardcovers and all this stuff, and they made like special USB drives for their Kickstarter for where you can get the book and the audio version.
Yeah.
And so I was like thinking of stuff like that now. I'm like, that's a cool way to do a digital product and still let people get a physical thing.
Yeah,
and you can share it. You could share it with your friends.
You can share it. Well, that's what and I've always thought of that. Like, I like the idea of if you buy a book, you get a digital copy that's sort of, DRM free. Like, give it away. Like, spread it around. I'm still very much, even though I've got some decent sales and I've been doing this for a few years now, I'm still very much in just like spreading the gospel of D versus M mode, where it's like, I don't really care. Like, as long as I'm not losing money on this, whatever, So it's like, if people want to like, give something away, or as long as a new reader finds it, I'm excited about that. So
and that's the thing. If you give like if you like Mike here wanting to give away, like show people Absolute Batman or something, and be like, hey, you should read this. He gives them his copy of them. Those people, if they love it even half as much as we do, they're going to go out and buy their own copy. And then they're going to buy the next volume and the next volume. And so I think people shy away from that mentality because they're like, oh, you're giving my book away for free. But I think that's kind of the grassroots thing you want, especially in the indie world. Like,
that's how it happens.
Yeah.
And I think look, I love indie. I'm an indie guy, and most of the books I buy are indie. But indie, there's a little bit of a crapshoot with it. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what the quality level is. You don't know, like, how's the writing going to be? How's the drawing going to be? Is this person going to be around in 6 months? Like, like, are they going to stay with their series? Like, all of that, you don't. So there's, like, a lot of risks, again, which I appreciate, if someone's giving me a chance to, like, pick up my book. So, no, I totally sympathize with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Mike. I was going to say we talked about the $15 book price, but like on your Etsy shop, $15, that's with shipping, but also you do the nice top secret 3 books together for $40, so it's a little bit even cheaper.
You can save some money if you get
so I think that's
3
cool
bundle.
Too.
Yeah. And I throw in stickers, and you get it's a well printed product. The cover is a nice stock, and I spend a lot of time on the art, so I want the print to be good quality. So I make sure I'm going to a good printer where you're getting a nice, like, I would be shocked if anyone felt like, oh, D versus M is overpriced. If they've read it, like, I think they would like, no, that's a fair. If anything, sometimes I get like, oh, you're, because I've talked about my margins with some of my indie comic friends, and they're like, you should bump up your. It's like, no. To me, 15 is the most you can ask someone for an indie book. I can't even conceive. Now, if it was a trade, it'd be a whole different story.
Right.
But like a floppy, like I think 15 is about, and that, yeah, with shipping. If you meet me at a con, it's 10, because I don't have to come up with, the Gemini mailer, and I don't have to come, I don't have to do all that. I don't have to get media mail or whatever. So to me, $10 for 60 pages is like,
it's pretty good.
Find me a better deal in here.
That's
that's hard to find.
I believe that's what the Savage Sword of Conan books are that I get, and $10, $9.99. It's. I mean, those are 64 pages, yeah. But yeah, that's a solid price for them, and the free shipping there is what gets it. Like, dude, nothing. And we talked to a lot of Kickstarter creators, but nothing pisses me off more than when I get the Kickstarter and it's like it's $15. I'm like, okay. And then they come back a month later. The book's done. We need your shipping address or your shipping address and all that. Oh, and by the way, another $8 for shipping.
Yeah, we're going to charge your card today. Why
you
do
can
people
fuck
do that?
right off?
Why?
Oh my god.
Why do people? It's such a pet peeve. Like, I thought we were done. I thought now.
I thought our transaction was over.
It's such a turnoff.
Yeah, I hate that as well. I mean, okay, so all right, I think we've kind of killed this idea of pricing, and so now I want to talk to you about aliens. So, is there anything like as of late that's interesting you? I guess as we were talking, I was thinking of like Ancient Aliens and do you think about like going back? I mean, you're talking about ancient dinosaurs, right? So
right.
Is there any sort of technical beings that you could play with? Like, is there any thoughts of going even further back than where you are now with your story? Like, have you thought about that at all?
I've thought about it. I can tell you D vs. M is going to stay strictly like modern times. So we won't go back before 75. There's references to Roswell here and there. So you can tell there was and I weave that all in. I assume like Roswell happened in my canon, and I assume, Bob Lazar happened in my canon, like it's all and I've also added other things. I have a kind of I think a fun video up on my YouTube where it's like a timeline of the story so far in D vs. M, and that also throws in like this idea that the government leaked files to Steven Spielberg to make E.T. and Close Encounters, like as part of and that they leaked files to Michael Crichton for Jurassic Park. Like these are all disinformation campaigns.
Right.
Like it's all, which I would lump myself into in this mythology where it's like I'm being given stuff to make comic books.
That's awesome.
But there may or may not be a little bit of time travel hijinks later in the series. I've got 2 books left. I'm writing the next one right now.
Okay, cool.
But it's not going to be going into the deep past. No. But,
So that kind of, I had a similar question I had in mind with that. You said you had the 6 books planned out. You kind of know where the story's going and everything. At any point in this where you're just like, man, it'd be really cool to do a one shot on 1986, or like just a random. You found another place along the timeline where like this would be a cool story to add to it, or maybe expand it even further.
Totally, and I think what's kept my enthusiasm for doing this series, among other things, but one of the things that keeps it constantly fun and fresh for me is I can pretty much tell any story that interests me creatively within this framework of D vs. M. Like the way I'm doing it is like this eyewitness account, and it's mostly about this particular person and their experience in the Dinosaur-Martian War. I can, like already I've told a story about a researcher in a top secret lab. I've told a story about a soldier. I've told a story about anything I can cook up. There's a quote, I think it was Lawrence Kasdan, who the super geeks out there will remember he co-wrote Empire Strikes Back, among a bunch of other things. And he said once that almost any story, any good story, can be told as a Western. And there's some truth in that, though I would modify and say almost any good story can be told in a genre, You know, it could be sci-fi, it could be a Western, it could be a Kung Fu movie, like whatever. And I think that's what I've been doing with D versus M. Like, I can come up with something. I'm not going to do this, but if I wanted to tell, like, a Wes Anderson strange little hipster love story, I could do it in D versus M. Like, I could just do it in that setting and have these two characters connect in sort of a cute, awkward way. And just say, like, that's my next D versus M.
There you go.
So, to answer your question, yeah, all the time I'm writing this and thinking, like, I see things on the margins here. You could spin this off and do, you know, another year that's about that person or about this aspect of it. I've tried to stay focused because I've always liked the idea of a limited series. I've liked the idea of at some point you can get all of them. There's no more coming. Like, the lights have been shut off and you will get a complete story. And you know, this complete epic of all these different characters' experiences and how it all ties together.
Yeah.
But I've also thought, like, in you know, the wildest fantasy of it, yeah, if it ever takes off and, you know, if somebody someday is like, we'd like to make more D versus M's, here's a giant dump truck of money, you know? I'd be like, sure, absolutely. And I think they would have, like, they'd be experiencing the same thing I am, where it's like, you can kind of do whatever you want now. Like, just fill in the margins. So,
because I think as my final thought, the thing that comes to mind for me is we, over the past 5 to 10 years, have experienced this quote-unquote declassification of UFO files.
yeah.
And to see, like, in your world, the person who maybe sees something and then just is like, I'm gonna make it to the as high as I can in DC so that I can declassify this stuff or find the answer. The politician's journey into this in your world, I think, would be really cool.
I mean, that would be a fascinating, D versus M, the senator or something. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's so much fun, and, like, you know, we've been talking about, if you do love UFO lore, some of these just write themselves. Like, my next one is going to be D versus M, the abductee. So it'll be someone who gets abducted, and it'll be their story. And it's like, if you're telling an alien story, it's like, that's perfect, of course.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
It just works. And before we wrap up today, are there like some of these real encounter stories or like eyewitness accounts that you truly feel are like true? Like, there's like, how could you make something like, are there some of those stories out there that are like, okay, this has to have some truth to it? Are there some that you like come to mind?
You know, I mean, I hate to just hit the classics, but I've always loved the Roswell story so much.
Yeah.
And there's just something about it. I mean, I've read this is what's interesting to me about the Roswell story. Like, I could totally accept, this was a weird, like, classified thing that crashed, and, like, they were clunky on the cover-up. Like, sure, maybe. Except, I find it very weird that almost every 10 years since it's happened, they've had a different version of, like, okay, here's what really happened. You know? Like, and they've done that a few times, and to me, that seems like the elaboration of a bad liar. Like, it's kind of weird that you can't just get it together and come up with something that's consistent and is always true. It's weird that every once in a while we get a update on Roswell. Actually, what we meant was, you know, it's like that to me just stinks a little bit.
Yeah.
So the Roswell thing's always been intriguing. And then, you know, I'm not gonna name names, and there's no big exclusives for you guys. I'm sorry, but
yeah, it's okay. No,
I do know a guy who drove trucks for the Army. And somewhere on his route was Area 51. Like, he had to go. Now, he knew nothing. Yeah, I was like, so? Like, you know, what'd you see when you're out there?
Did they have a Taco Bell there? What is?
Yeah. What's going on out there? But he did say that he knew a guy. One of the posted guards there, or somebody. he said, that guy told me that, like, basically it's more or less all true. That, yeah, we got a thing. And he was very casual about it. Very blasé. He's like, oh, yeah. No, there's...
Oh, yeah, we got one of those.
We got some crafts, and we don't know how they work, and... Yeah, that stuff's, it's all, it's way, like, there's some stuff, but, yeah. No, it's all true. And I was like, was he screwing with you? Like, was he all like, this is what he does? Is like everyone is like, oh yeah, but
yeah, right.
Yeah, but no, he said like, no, I mean, he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, and he played it off like, yeah, no, there's definitely stuff out there. And like, I always found, because I know this guy and like I trust him, it's like, I don't know. Those are the ones I always come back to. Again, they're the oldies. But they're oldies and classics for a reason. There's something about that. And of course, then modern day, that Tic Tac video is crazy.
Yeah.
That's a wild video to watch, and it's hard to wave away.
And everything going on. I mean, we're not gonna go down a rabbit hole here, but everything going on mixes a little bit too cleanly with Bob Lazar's story. Like, it just. Yeah. But I always think of there's a comedian. I believe it's Ron Funches. Who has that clip out there, and he's just like, so you don't believe in any conspiracy theories? So you just think they're being straight with us all the time?
All the time. Yeah.
Not lying to us at all.
Right. No, I'm glad you mentioned Bob Lazar. I always have loved the Bob Lazar story. And I won't, like, bet my life that, like, it's, he's telling the truth, but he's very compelling. Yeah, and his story has never really wavered. And there are
gets me. It
things,
never wavers.
And there's little things about it where it's like I don't know. He's either a phenomenal fiction writer, or there's little bits that have this whiff of truth to it. Little details, not just like the big broad strokes, but little things that's like that makes it feel real to me. He could be a total pathological liar. I don't know. But, like, there's enough there where it's like, don't they have his name on one of the employee lists of, it's like Los Alamos or something? And there's enough weird stuff there where it's like, he's not just a kook. Like, he had some connection.
Right.
So, yeah, I've always loved the Lazar story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's always like like you said, eyewitness accounts of, like, I asked where you were living before we started recording, but I was living in the Berkshires, in western Massachusetts for a long time, and there was an episode that had come out the last few years of Unsolved Mysteries talking about these alien sightings all happened at one night, and I think it was in the 70s, and all of these people from neighboring counties started calling into a radio station from all over the counties, and like different people of like, different ages, whatever, and like they didn't know each other, and the fact that, like, you think that all of these people in all different neighboring, like, towns, like, decided to just, hey, let's play this prank in the middle of the night, and all of them had different weird accounts, like, and, like, the fact that, like, they all coordinate, it just doesn't make, and, like, at the time, there was something. Yeah, right. Yeah. There was, like, an army base there at the time, like an airstrip, and... so there's definitely more going on, but the fact that like this happened and like nobody knew about it until 4 or 5 years ago because it was just one or two crazy people in each town saying, oh yeah, I saw something.
Yeah. And
when they all came together and like, no, we all saw something on the same night within the same hour or something happened to us, and it's like, it's really hard for me to be like, that didn't happen.
Right. Yeah, no, something happened. So it's just like, okay, so what? Well, what is that? There's also that collection of videos, I think it was over Mexico City, maybe 20 years ago, maybe?
Yep.
Where it looks just like metallic globes hanging over the city, and from all different angles of the city.
Right.
People recording the same event. Something's up there.
Yeah.
Doesn't look, especially for that era. Now you'd think, like, well, maybe it's a drone, but then, unless we had top secret drones, but then, like, why are you out where everyone can take a picture of it?
And for people to come forward like this day and age where you're going to be like ridiculed and like torn apart by the public and the media, it's like, why would you put yourself through that if you or like lose your jobs? People have lost their jobs and like their careers over some of these things is crazy.
I always think that with the black couple back in the 70s, 60s, I think it was. I forget their names now. But it's like they came out and told this whole story about how they saw something and a craft came down, all that. And not only is it the 60s, so you look insane,
Yeah.
but you gotta but think about the time frame too. A black couple in the 60s.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you
don't
want to talk
extra
about
attention.
racism and civil rights and everything. That's the era. So like, they're not gonna have any credit in the mainstream.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
So like, why would they put
what's the
themselves through
gain?
that? Yeah.
Yeah, and they like it didn't do any good for them, and they have no reason to believe it would do any good for them. So
No, they tried to hypnotize themselves out of believing it because it was just
crazy.
like, they were seen as insane.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's absolutely. I can't just wave it all away as like, oh, it's all crazy people
Right.
and people who are on drugs. Like, there's something.
Everybody's
there,
on drugs,
you
yeah.
know?
There's a good percentage of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a bunch.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a bunch.
Yeah, there's a
But
bunch.
there are some where it's like there's no good explanation, you know,
Yeah.
and those are the really interesting ones.
Well, I do appreciate you indulging our conspiracy questions.
Of course,
just a
no,
little
I
bit
mean,
there,
I wouldn't
but,
write. Believe me, I think one of the joys every time I do a big convention, I feel like once a show, some kind of nervous looking person will sidle up to the table and be
wearing
like,
a trench coat.
yeah, and they'll actually, like, I've had a couple times people ask, like, so, like, I'll run through my pitch, and they'll be like, it's like, so is this true? Like, they'll always you know, and
Was
I
it
never
you? Did it
know.
happen?
I was like, well, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's true.
Somewhat.
We'll
I don't
see.
know. Yeah, it just
Dinosaurs
no,
have
people are
existed.
into it.
Yeah.
People, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a really cool premise, and I'm excited to check these books out. So,
Cool.
you just said The Soldier just came out, so they're all available
Just
on your
came out.
Etsy website.
Yes.
Is that where you would, push all our listeners and viewers to check you out? Is that
Yeah,
the
I
best
mean,
spot?
if the main hub of all my stuff would be probably my Instagram, where I'm at. It's at Dinosaurs versus Marsbots. So at Dinosaurs vs Marsbots on Instagram. That has the link tree where it'll take you to my Etsy shop. It'll take you to my YouTube channel where I do videos. That will get you everywhere else. But if you're like, oh, I just want to look at like what books are available and maybe at buying them, I would say check out my Etsy.
Awesome.
Yeah, and to everybody out there watching, listening, check out the show notes down below. I'll have links to the Etsy shop, and I even found that you have a Redbubble merch shop, so you have some cool T-shirts and everything people can check out.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, it's like I don't pay enough attention to it, but I do have some merch there. Yeah.
So we'll put that link down below as well as some of the social media, so everybody can go check out what Gary has going on. And Gary, the book is awesome, and excited. Got to get issues 5 and 6 out for us. So
I'm working on it. I'm working hard. So
Yeah.
thanks for the
for
time,
having me.
man, and we'll have to do this again.
yeah, this was fun.